If you have ever found yourself feeling stuck because you're not able to invest in everything that your business needs to succeed right now, then listen up because today's episode is for you. My guest is Tata Tickaradze, founder of Barter Be, which, like most good inventions, was born out of necessity. When Tata set out to start her first business, she realized that she couldn't afford everything she needed to create the dream brand that she envisioned. So she did what every other scrappy, successful entrepreneur that she knew did. She traded her services with other creatives to get the work done that she needed to help her business thrive. She set out to inspire others with that same spirit of reciprocity and community, and that is how her second company, Barter Be, was born. Today we're breaking down how you can scale your business or passion project through bartering and how to identify the value that you can offer to others. Okay, before we get into today's episode, I have something really exciting to share. You have heard me talk about our six-figure school program, and we only open it twice a year. We are opening it for spring very, very soon. You know, podcasts are amazing. You can learn so much from them. If you're like me, you probably binge listen to so many different incredible podcasts. But if you're ready for a step-by-step plan, you're tired of figuring it out all on your own, and you just want someone to take you by the hand and show you exactly how to launch and scale your big idea to your first six figures, then this is for you. You also happen to get the most incredible, badass community of women who are going to support you and hold you accountable. So my favorite thing about the way we've designed Six Figure School is that you have access for the life of the program. So you get to learn and grow at your own pace. There's no such thing as falling behind, and there's really no such thing as joining too early, because no matter if your idea is just the tiny seed of inspiration or you've been at it for a while, you are going to get so much from this program and community that's going to help you go further faster. So if your heart is kind of racing and your palms are getting a little sweaty just hearing me talk about this, then something tells me this might be for you. And if you know you're ready to go all in on your big ideas, here's what I want you to do. The doors won't open for a few more days or weeks, depending on when you're hearing this message, but I want you to text me the word READY, READY, text me the word READY to 602-536-7829. And you're going to get first access to join when we open the doors, plus some exclusive bonuses that no one else is going to get. We only open this program, like I said, twice a year. And once the doors open, they are not open for long. So hit pause right now, send me a quick text. The number is in the show notes, and let's do this. Let's get you on the way to making your big idea a reality. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in today. We are rolling right through this series, counting down to the launch of Six Figure School. And let me tell you, when I heard this guest today on a mutual friend's podcast, I texted him immediately and said, "You have to introduce me. Our community needs to meet this woman and hear about what she's created." So Tata, I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here, Lindsay, and so honored. Thank you so much.
And I think it was kind of like an immediate friendship too.
Totally. I feel like I've known you forever.
We bonded over, you're about to get your first puppy. We were bonding over dog mom stuff. I mean, that's really all you need, I think.
Exactly. That's enough right there. Totally.
What's cool is when I get to have people who are newer to my life in having you on the podcast is I really kind of get to meet you and learn more about your story along with the community. So I would love if you would just really start at the beginning of your business story. You actually have two businesses. We're going to talk specifically about one of them a little bit more today, but tell us the story of like, how did you become an entrepreneur? And then how did you move into creating what we're going to talk about today? today, which is your platform, Barter Be, because I know it's a very personal story to you why you created it. So I'd love, love, love to hear.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. So I'll dive right in. My background has always been in marketing. I've always worked corporate jobs, 9 to 5. I grew up in Atlanta. I moved to California 7 years ago on Valentine's Day, actually, this year. And when I moved out here, my parents said, if you get a job, you can move to California. So I applied to a few places. I got hired at a company in Costa Mesa. And that was kind of like almost my second to last full-time kind of corporate job. I was in Costa Mesa for about a year and then really just didn't love Orange County, honestly, didn't have the baby and the whole lifestyle that was. And I wanted to be in Los Angeles. And so I packed up and I moved in with a couple of my guy friends in Santa Monica. And my recruiter called me and said, hey, I've got an opportunity for you to work as a media director at a talent agency representing hair, makeup, wardrobe, photography, directors. Is this something within your wheelhouse? And I was like, absolutely, like is creative and totally within what I was interested in at the time. And so I'm at this job almost a year. And my boss at the time, she told me, she was like, I really think that you would benefit going off on your own and starting your own business. And in all honesty, me and the head agent just didn't get along. And she was like, I can't let her go, but I can let you go. But I'm going to let you go with kind of I'm not going to contest getting you unemployment. Like I want to set you up for success. And she truly did. She pushed me into the direction of starting my own business, which was To the Moon Social. It's a digital agency based in Los Angeles, and we're a boutique style agency, meaning we have a very small team of 5 people. And we do everything from social media management to content creation and photo shoots and video shoots. So it's definitely within that creative, wheelhouse that I just love. So here I am, almost 2 years into living in California, and I've decided to go off on my own independently to start a business. And really, I just kept running into all these issues. I couldn't afford all the things that I needed, like a website or graphic design or a brand identity or copywriting or headshots. I mean, it was just like left and right. And if I go back a couple of steps, prior to getting this job, I did kind of like the starter pack LA kit of doing acting classes and getting those types of headshots because I wanted to do commercial acting, not like film or acting or TV show acting. And by accident, I ended up in Leslie Kahn's all intensive comedic acting classes, which really helped me a lot because it felt like I was in therapy for almost a year when I did that. So this is like kind of around the same time when the recruiter called and I started easing into this, role as a media director at the talent agency. And then, so I kind of had that like in my back pocket as experience. And during that time is when I thought of Barter Be. So the idea actually came way before I launched the agency. But when I was finally at the agency, I was like, oh, I can actually maybe test this thing out to see if I can actually, do something with this idea that I have, right? To trade services and offer my skill set. And so I slowly started doing that. I started reaching out to photographers and saying, hey, can I, maybe do your social media for a month and trade for 20 deliverables for my new website? Can I hire you for copywriting and I'll do, social media shout outs for you, or I can send you a couple of the brands that I work with. So really just started trading that way and slowly but surely got the things I needed for the agency. And it was kind of proof that if I could do this, then other people should be doing this and utilizing this as well. And then not to mention the relationships that I made along the way. So I truly turned my network into my like net worth in a way. And then referrals just kind of started flooding in that way too. So the agency still functions on a referral base. We don't really market at all. And it's been that way for almost 5 years now. So I'm very blessed in that regard. And then with Barter Be, I just felt like everything kept drawing me to focusing on this concept. And so I really wanted to invest back into the business. So in 2020, we rebranded, relaunched a full custom web application for a community of a little over 600 members, and really just wanted to give back, to them, and in hopes that they can, find the same value that I did. That was a really long answer.
I know. Whenever I'm the one sharing my story on podcasts, I'm like, wow, it's a lot of me, but the listener doesn't feel that way at all. And it highlights so many of the points along my own business journey, along the journey that our listeners are going through, whether they have a business or it's just a passion project or a big idea they're taking action on, is there is this part of the journey where you're not quite in the position yet to financially invest in some of the things you need. And yet, those are the exact things that are going to help you get there. And I talk to so many women who feel stuck in that place. And it's just such a reminder that I think sometimes when we're forced to get scrappy, it gives us the best ideas. We actually get to build. What I didn't think about is that relationship side of things. It really makes you build the relationships to then have the capital to give, like the relationship capital to give back.
Absolutely.
Oh, so good. So, okay, when you first started the concept of Barter Be, I know we'll get to what it looks like now. What did those early days look like? Was it more informal? Were you just like, "Hey everybody, I'm going to teach you how to barter for the things that you need." What did that look like?
Yeah. So really, I felt kind of stuck in the beginning because here I am, I'm working this 9 to 5. I have this great gem of an idea in my head, but now I need to kind of extract it and execute it. And so I got tired waiting around on executing the actual platform, like the website for it. So I just decided that I would teach myself how to build this concept on Squarespace. So I built the original site on Squarespace, and everything was public though, like profiles were public. It was just super simple. It was kind of like a directory. That's pretty much what it was like. And so I felt like I needed to get the momentum going and I needed to start there. And I knew that I could at least teach myself that. So once I did that part, I kind of stepped away and was really focusing on growing the agency. But again, in order to grow the agency, I needed to kind of tap into those same resources. So as applicants came through, like as copywriters came through, or graphic designers and photographers and web developers, I was like, oh, okay, I no longer have to DM people like on Instagram or hit up my friend from, college saying like, hey, do you know, a videographer? Do you know a graphic designer I can work with? I now had like this bank that I could go to and source these people. And so I would just look at their work from their submissions on Barter Be, and I would email them and be like, hey, I have, this client, or let me know if you're looking for, copywriting, or if you're looking for something in particular. And on the old site, it shows you like what they're looking for. So you can also like always offer it that way too. And then I was able to kind of trade with them, whether it was through product or through me offering my skill set and my services. Or I would give them other jobs as well. So I would send them to one of my clients and then they would get hired that way. So it was kind of scrappy and it was very like holding hands and connecting the dots. But it was a yes, always. It was never like, oh, I don't feel comfortable or this doesn't feel right. It just kind of naturally grew and organically happened. And then people would start reaching out to me for certain things too. So yeah, I mean, I think in the beginning you have to be scrappy and you have to be smart. And that's why I think so many people that are making that leap outside of their 9 to 5 corporate job or taking their freelance skill set into turning it into a company, that Barter Be is essential for them, because they don't have to use their hard-earned money right off the bat like that. Things like legal and accounting, this stuff adds up. And in the beginning, you're kind of, hoarding your capital to keep the lights on, right?
Yeah, it really is such a brilliant concept. And there were a couple of questions when I put myself back in the shoes of early stage entrepreneur Lindsay. So one of them being, My first business was actually in health and wellness. I wasn't someone who would have clearly been able to see, oh, I'm a photographer, I can build someone's website. What's your advice for people who have more of like the, let's just call it unconventional, like I can't see clearly how we're going to trade this service for this service. Do you have any cool stories like that on, or what would your advice be for someone who's like, well, I don't know, what value do I bring?
Yeah, totally. So probably the most asked question is what you just asked. And it's so important to know outside of like your like to know what your value set is and what you're willing to offer, we'll say for free or what you're willing to offer through trade, right? So maybe you're not willing to offer your big package through trade. Maybe you're willing to offer like the first two tiers, but really seeing what you value and what your offerings are is the most important, and like being very transparent with the person that you're trading with, so that it's equal and even. And so that's why we kind of suggest to do it on a dollar exchange. But to your point about wellness versus photography or legal or accounting, we have people on Barter Be that are, we'll call it more pleasure and more nice to haves on the platform, that are wellness coaches, holistic wellness coaches. That you have nutritionists on there. We have one barter that just really barter trade that recently just came in with a web developer and a nutritional coach, and they traded because one needed a new website and one really needed to get her health, wellness, life balance in track.
Wow,
And
yeah.
so I think the concept of trading, like, I mean, it goes back and back and back, right? So
Yeah.
it's not limited to just business. There's people on there renting their space for photo shoots. There's people on the platform that offer their services at like estheticians. So it's like, I don't want to spend $500 maybe on that facial. So maybe I'll offer her, a full social media audit, some graphic design templates, and that value equals, to maybe the same dollar value that two packages of facials equals, right? It's just having that honest conversation and starting that conversation. And the platform has a chat feature. So you just kind of like chat someone, say, hey, what's up? Are you open to trading this for this? And then it just
Yeah.
kind of starts this conversation. And it shouldn't be awkward, because if you're on the platform, which is a vetted community, you should kind of have a sense of what your offering is and what your value set is. So
Yeah.
I feel like as long as you have a clear sense of that, there really is, it's limitless what you could achieve on the platform. But
Mm,
we're not currently like holding your hand through it. So the next phase is really, kind of like a concept like, Tinder or, Bumble, where like we're matching you with people, or we're giving you suggestions of people based on, the tag words that you filled in for your profile. So that is like something that has been a dream of mine, to really like connect you based on your location and exactly what you're looking for. It's like you typed in copywriter, boom, here's like a suggestion of 3 copywriters that are local to you. And really doesn't matter if they're local to you, if they're a copywriter, but it does matter if it's like a photographer or something like that. So,
right.
yeah, to me, honestly, I think the friendships and the connections that are made on the platform are super special. And then the referrals that kind of rolls into. Then once you start that relationship, that person will think of you, again and again, and refer business to you.
Yeah. Oh, it's just so brilliant. I think number one, to know that there is a platform where it doesn't have to be awkward, like you said, because people who are in this community are here because they're looking to barter. Kind of like takes down that wall of, gosh, I don't know how to ask them. But then I love the point that you said, it all comes down to what someone values. And I've watched women in my life trade, whether it's like meal swap so that they don't have to cook one night and that's extra time they can spend on their business, or trading babysitting hours if they're a mom. It like really expands your mind beyond what you traditionally offer as a business, that you could have something of value to offer others that you aren't thinking of right now.
Totally, totally. I mean, originally, all the trades I've done in the beginning were all for my business growth. And
Yeah.
then slowly but surely, I had people that submitted, and I was like, well, why would I turn away from an esthetician, like, or a nutritionist, or, a health wellness coach or a business coach? Well, I guess that would be to help the business grow. But
Yeah.
to me, it was like a no-brainer. They need more exposure. They need help as well to grow their businesses. And I have a, skill set that I could offer them. And in return, I could get, things that are nice to have, like a facial
Yeah.
or, massage, things like that. And so, yeah, I mean, it just keeps going. But I will say this, it's less of a like Task Rabbit kind of concept. It's less of a, I'll teach you how to cook and you teach me how to play guitar. It's not so, like, it's less of that, and it's more really
Yeah.
oriented around like business.
Yeah. Which I love. And I think that's primarily what our audience would be interested in. And
Mhm.
I'm like sitting here going, I would straight up trade for a massage right now. Like,
I know.
hands down. That sounds really nice. So, here's my other question. And I love you were talking about how it all starts with a conversation. So, obviously, if two people are within the Barter and Be platform, and we're going to share at the end, of course, how people can become a part of that. But let's say someone has another business owner, maybe it's even within the Powerhouse Women community, and they really need their service. How do you approach that conversation to see if someone's open to bartering in a respectful way, right? Without saying, I expect you to work for free, right? Because I bet there's just a certain way to make that where it feels really generous and open for the person to say no or yes or come back with questions. What would your advice be for how to initiate that conversation if it's, say, with outside of your platform?
Yeah, totally. So, great question. I would say you approach it with as much transparency and confidence. I think is key, because if you bring confidence to the table, that means that you know what you're offering is quality. And if you are good at what you do, then that is of value for that person to then want to accept or consider. And then you could frame it in that way. Would you consider maybe potentially doing this as a trade versus, a payment? And in return, I can get you this, this, and this. I think it's important to know what the dollar value you're trading for is and meet that as equally as you possibly can, and have have clarity around what that looks like. We have, downloadable contracts that help kind of facilitate that process as well, and hold the accountability on both sides. But really, outside of the platform, it's just about being honest about what you're looking for and what the person that you're speaking with can offer you. And sometimes you might get a no, you might get 20 no's, but I guarantee you that if you don't start that conversation, then you won't ever know, if that's something that they would be open to. So I feel like you approach it with confidence, you approach it with, integrity in your work, and know that you have something that someone else will value. And in return, it might be a win-win all around. And it kind of like sets the tone for trust in a way. Like, I'm going to now trust you, you're going to trust me. And through that trust, naturally builds this friendship, which then I really love that next phase of what happens there, because they do really remember to come back to you or to refer you back, business. And so I feel like it's just getting out of your head and getting out of, the fear around no, and just ask away. And yeah, I mean, the most uncomfortable conversations end up being the best ones. So there you
Mm.
go.
Oh, it really is so brilliant. You're giving me a ton of permission just to think differently, even at this stage of business, about because what I really hear the possibility is the relationship side of things, right? To deepen those relationships. What are some of your favorite stories that you've gathered from either your experience bartering where it turned into a cool relationship or someone in your community?
Yeah, totally. So, we have had a lot of happy barter stories. I mean, there's just so many. One I've mentioned on Chris's podcast, like one of my favorite ones with like the nutritionist trading with the website developer, because I feel like that's someone getting, their health and wellness life in check and finding that balance in their health and wellness
Yeah.
while also helping that small business owner really increase and up level their website through branding and digital marketing. I think that's huge, and that's just such a great trade. And the one that I love, and I've probably told this on other shows before, is the one with, we had a photographer who's this like impeccable, amazing wedding photographer and lifestyle. And she was going through a kind of revamp of her brand identity and website. And she was already working with a different company. So she's on this platform. She's on the old site. This is on the old website. She's on Barter Be, and a gal kind of emails her, because that's kind of how they would do it. They would copy each other's emails off their profile. So she emailed her and was like, hey, I love your work. I love your website. I saw you featured in this magazine and that magazine. I would love the opportunity to rebrand your website. So the photographer reads the email and she's like, thank you so much for reaching out. I'm actually in the process of doing this right now with an agency, but I honestly feel like they've given me more work and I just haven't made the time to fill out all of these forms and, to select my color palettes and logo variations and all this stuff, right? So it's a hard pass. So the reason why the story is so cool is because normally with a hard pass, you would just be like, okay, thanks so much for your consideration. Bye. But this graphic designer is the other member, and she just did not take no for an answer. She wrote back and she was like, I just couldn't help myself. I went ahead and kind of started on a couple of things, see attached, and like attached a couple of logo variations and like a concept of like the homepage of the site, right? And so the photographer saw this and was like, whoa, it's like, this is exactly kind of what I wanted. And it's going to be much more fun starting off here than having all this homework over here to do. So she said, yes, okay, let's do it this way. And the graphic designer needed photography headshots for her new website. So she actually was from Chicago. Photographer is from California. She flew to Chicago, from Chicago to California.
Wow.
They did a photo shoot. They became really great friends. And because the photographer had such a huge following on social media, she was able to get so much work to the graphic designer because of the relaunch of her website that she ended up having to hire like 3 or 4 new employees by the end of that year because her business was growing so much. So I feel like that story really resonates with me because it just kind of like tumbleweeds like into this whole other thing. And or like was it, I guess, a snowball effect. That's a better
I'm in
way to
Arizona, so
explain
tumbleweed. I'm like, oh yeah, no, totally.
it.
But either one, pick the one that works for you.
I feel like that one really just stuck with me because so much more came out of it. And till this day, they're still friends. So
Yeah.
I love that story. You have a lot of copywriters trading with graphic designers. You have a lot of small business owners, whether photographers or videographers, even influencers, really looking for contracts and that legal help. And I think that legal and accounting somehow gets missed. Like nobody wants to talk about that or touch those two things. And they're the most important things. And yet, though they might make you feel uncomfortable, you need to talk about them and you need them in order to protect yourself and have your business grow. And they tend to be some of the more expensive things. So I feel like you're going to get a lot of people wanting to do those types of trades too. Now, a copywriter, might not need, or legal might not need, you would probably say legal person might not need a copywriter or might not need a photographer, but you'd be surprised because everyone's, on social media and everyone has a digital presence and everyone has a website. So you'd be surprised, like the accountants that are independent and the attorneys that are independent, they need that stuff too.
Yes. So. Oh, what a cool story. I was even saying to you before we hit record, so much of what you're doing is in line. It's just like such a living, breathing example of what we say all the time, which is that you're not meant to do business or life alone. And I'm so grateful that you not just got the download to create this community, but that you took action on it, because it's serving such a bigger purpose even than just the services that are traded within the platform. And I cannot wait to watch it grow with the rebrand and the relaunch. So tell everyone what the site looks like now, because now it's a membership and it's, oh my gosh, it's so affordable and so beautiful. And I know you have a lot more planned for it. So give us kind of the glimpse of what does it look like now and where is it going?
Yeah, totally. Great question. So we I finally decided that I wanted to invest back into the brand and into the business because I just fell in love with this community so much. And pre-COVID, we were doing real life events where I got to meet so many of these members. So it really honestly just fueled me. So I invested back into the community in 2020. And in June, we launched a new rebrand and a new custom web application that includes, like I said, this chat feature. You can search members through location or based on skill set or industry, which is really nice. And what we kind of want to add to this platform, there's so much, but by the end of this year, we really want to bring referral programs. We want to be able to offer you, 30 days free if you bring in a member. Currently, right now, the cost is $11.99 a month with a 7-day free trial. It's literally less than probably what you spend on coffee a week. And just one trade on there, is worth 10 times more than the cost of your monthly, right? So the kind of ideas that we have to implement on the platform, I mentioned the matching concept. We also want to kind of see if we could do virtual events through the actual application. And so that would be really fun in terms of maybe like, being able to network with someone on who's live in that moment, and you just meet them and they could be from anywhere in the world, and spark up a conversation that way, because it does get lonely, working solo or for yourself. Even before COVID was an issue, I was alone, like with the agency. I didn't know what to charge. I didn't know, what to do for so many things, or how to like my packages together for the agency, right? And so through time, I figured it out. But in the beginning, you have so many questions. And so mentorship is another kind of concept we're working through about adding. So maybe you're not willing to offer your services or your products to trade because you're very busy, or you've been, in your industry for 5-10 years and you're an expert in the space, but think of like all the knowledge you harness. So let's, it's just such good karma to offer that to someone else that could then offer you something in return. So an hour with that one person, could help that individual save days and days and months of time of research. So I feel like we're trying to figure out how we can, get other people excited to be on the platform as mentors versus just new business owners.
Yeah.
And if you're pregnant and you're not trading, or let's say you're on vacation and you're just you're gone for 3 weeks to a month, you can toggle on and off on the platform if you're not taking any trades. And then another piece I didn't mention was when you edit your profile, you have the option to either have trades on, paid on, or both. So don't think that this is just trading. You can get like paid. We're not facilitating the actual exchange of the money, but you could just be on the platform and say you're only interested in paid opportunities.
Wow.
We left that as an option, just, kind of to study what people would do. And if they liked that approach, some people are a little, hesitant or, to do just the trade. But I think allowing people to pick both or one or the other, giving them that, helps kind of on the other end too.
Oh, that's cool. Well, I can't wait to fully dive in and learn more. I know this is adding so much value to our community, and I can't wait to have you back. So, this was such a fun chat. It's been just like amazing to get to know you and a little bit more about your story. So, tell everyone where they can connect with you, find your obviously Barter and Be, but then your social media agency. Give us all the goods.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. I'm so honored, that you asked, for me to be a part of this. I'm so excited to meet all the amazing women that are part of your network. You can check out Barter and Be at barterandbe.com, or the agency is To the Moon Social. My handle is Tata Tickaradze on Instagram. The agency is To the Moon Social, and then Barter and Be. So check us out.
Yeah, and we'll make sure to link all of that. I will not leave it on you to have to spell that beautiful name. That's probably the coolest name of anyone I've interviewed so
You're
far.
so
Just saying.
kind.
So I love to ask this final question because at our heart, we all are, we're people first. We're women. We're navigating this world of business and life and growing as humans. And something that has been really important for me is stopping to acknowledge the times where I have been great. And it's always easier for me to see my areas for improvement than the times when I'm a total rock star. We just call it your powerhouse moment. And it can be anything big or small that is like the first thing that pops into your mind recently where you reflect back now and you're like, you know what? I was a total powerhouse in how I handled that or how I grew through that. What's an example that comes to your mind?
Such a good and hard question. So more of a win of how I handled it,
Yeah.
right? Let's see. Recently, or like when I was like really through the growing
You
stage?
can go with either.
So I'll have to say I had no idea building a web application required. I think I mentioned this to you before, like learning pretty much a whole new language in the tech world. And I never said that Barter and Be was a tech company, but if you want all these bells and whistles, you better know how to speak that language. And so I feel like I kind of want to pat myself on the back this past year in 2020 and in 2021. I have an incredible team that I'm working with, a developer and a PM and a UI UX designer. And I'm starting to speak like this language that they speak, and it's English. It's not like it's a different like.
It's not on Babbel. You can't go Rosetta Stone this.
Exactly. And I feel like I'm slowly but surely understanding and learning like, how they speak, which really helps me because then I know how to delegate a concept or task or really extract it from this crazy idea that I have in my head into something that's real. And I feel like that process has been very rewarding because I just never thought I would be able to do that, because on the agency side, that's completely different. So I feel like that would probably be
I will second that for you. Tata, this seriously has been so much fun, and just thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me so much.